also on item 10, I did a call here, and one of the projects is an accordion-based project. It's not normally regarded as a point of conflict for me, but it's something I normally mention.
So this is Councillor
Avery.
Avery, thank you.
Any more? Item number 3, minutes from last meeting. The minutes held the meeting on the 16th of January 2017. Is everybody happy with those minutes for us to sign?
For ecstatic, Chair.
Ecstatic, thank you. You can sign them.
I sign that.
Item number 4, matters arising and actions arising from the minutes on page 19 to 22. On page 21, I can see a couple of items, children's feedback, Councillor O'Connell and Councillor Addy, and we haven't got any update on that. Thank you.
On the alleyway report from Community College, the land around that area is currently being redeveloped, as you know, and there are vague plans afoot for the developers to do something with that park. I've had previous communication with them because they wanted to shut the park completely from extended period, which quite a few people were upset with. I've asked them again about their plans for that park and likely, but they've not got back to me. But I shall continue to chase them. I have to say the developers have not been particularly communicative. Although I will continue chasing them, I don't hold out that much hope that will give me substantive answers before they immediately submit a plan. But I will keep you updated. Can I just note that we didn't, unless there was email problems, we didn't have the actions list circulated after the last South Area Committee meeting. And there's a few things that, some problems that I can pick up updates on, a few things that have my name against that were not actually mine. So that was the only one that was definitely mine, but we clear up confusion earlier if we had a list back after the meeting. Thanks.
We also have some action points from Wendy Young, but they're covered in the environmental report. Any other points that we wish to raise on the outstanding? I just need to mention that it was an action point for me to write to the County Council about the closures of field roads. I did, and I was also summoned to find out about the taxi drivers who are actually allowing their cars running in the city centre. They don't switch them off. It transpires that even though we organised a licensing meeting and then a training after that, it is voluntary and it's like a gentleman's agreement, and if they don't wish to turn their engines off, we haven't got the legal power to make them turn their engines off. And they say they will do. 2 days ago I was passing by the council, I was in the city centre, 3 taxis, they were still running, so it's really, they're not following the rules. But I was told with the city deal, we may get more powers to make the taxi people switch off their engines if they're waiting, if they apply for hire and they're waiting for customers. Okay. Item number 5, it's an open forum. Because we've had a lot to go through, I would only allow 15 minutes for the open forum. Okay?
Ask him to ask his question.
Yeah. Antony, did you want to ask your question now? Have you opened forum?
I've got 3 questions
three
there.
questions.
2, I think, are...
You have one on the police,
Yep.
Parsons roundabouts.
Yeah, can I ask the roundabout one, please?
Okay.
Right, okay.
Antony Carpen,
Thank you.
Mobile Road roundabout. Please can we have smart traffic lights at least for the rush hour? And that is
Yeah, this question is an ongoing moan of mine and anyone who's had the misfortune to be stuck in traffic on Cherryhinton Road, whether it's in the morning rush hour or whether it's in the afternoon rush hour. As you will have seen, for those of you who were on that route a few minutes ago, you have got road traffic, vehicle traffic, backing all the way up to Coleridge Road. And not only do you have extremely poor air quality relating to the question I've got for the police, you've also got a number of motorists with illegally modified engines which basically make the road very, very noisy. And so part of the problem I've noticed, and this causes delays for buses as well, I'm one of these people who doesn't have a car, so dependent on public transport, means that the bus services get delayed needlessly because there's no traffic control. So my appeal to councillors, as I've raised before at previous county council meetings, is to please, can we put some traffic lights in at that roundabout and have those traffic lights all linked up all along Cherryhinton Road so that you're actually doing something positive about the flow of traffic and not having cars needlessly stuck in traffic day in, day out. Because given the rate of increase that we're going to have population-wise, it's only going to get worse. So can we sort it out now rather than 10 years' time? Thank you.
So who is this question referring to, sir? To the police, to one of the councillors?
Ideally, it's to the county councillors responsible for, or whose areas cover Cherryhinton Road. So I guess that in part it's Councillor Taylor and unfortunately Councillor Crawford, who's not here. It falls really within Councillor Crawford's area for Cherryhinton, given the boundary movements.
Would you like to have a go?
Thank you. As Mr Carpen says, it is currently part of Cherryhinton Division, although that will be changing in May. I'm happy to take it up if and when elected for the new division, but I wonder in the meantime whether any of the city councillors for Cherryhinton might like to comment.
Which roundabout are we talking about?
The Penrod Island Budgeons roundabout.
Yeah, it's not in Cherryhinton yet. But I'll answer the question on the roundabout. If you put traffic lights on that roundabout, you'd have to put traffic lights on the Burn Road roundabout. You'd have to put traffic lights on the one going back as well and going back as well. So the answer is not one set of traffic lights you want to put in. The answer is traffic lights at every roundabout that goes on that road. Sainsbury's would have to have one as well. So I think the answer would be there is no money. The city deal will have to look at that. It's a bigger picture than just looking at us at these individual wards. But that's my individual answer on that question.
Councillor Moore, please.
Come on, behave yourself. There we are, it's working. The problem is much bigger than that area. If you did get for that area a set of linked traffic lights, the cars would still queue because at the end of the link there'd be congestion. So that I understand where you're coming from very strongly, but the only way of managing this mathematically in the end is to limit the number of vehicles that are working in the city at any one time. And that's a controversial issue in the City Deal Board. They don't want to do that. They don't recognise that it's killing around 100 people a year in Cambridge City, which is an atrocious thing. So we need to get that sorted, and I hope that the mayor that gets elected will do exactly that. But it will be difficult for whatever mayor, and I suspect the mayor, if they're not favoured the Cambridge situation, won't understand it.
Thank you. Has
I'd just like to make a point that said it was Councillor Crawford's area, but at the moment it's not their area because the boundary changes won't come into force till after the May elections, and she hasn't been voted in yet, so I can't see how she could have asked us tonight even if she was here.
It sits on the boundary between different wards, so it's not really
Not
the
Cherry
roundabout
Hills,
doesn't
it's
look
not
Cherry
Cherry
Hills,
Hills.
it's not Cherry Hills.
Coleridge,
It's called
East area.
East area as well.
East area, yeah.
East area Coleridge.
You will ask the east area.
So the question should be addressed to the East area
Yeah.
Coleridge. It just is covered under our responsibility.
Mr Chairman,
Yes.
these divisions are not very helpful for the public.
Yes, thank you.
As we all experience this roundabout in the vicinity, I'm happy to take this up with the County Council. I'll have a chat with Mr Carpen about his particular concerns after the meeting, if that would be acceptable to everybody else.
Everybody happy with the order to take that on board? Yes? Thank you so much for that. Any other questions, anybody? Shall we move on? We move on.
I think it's taken later, yeah.
Yeah, you have a question later, yes, for the police, okay? So the go to item number 6, which is the update on transport projects in the South area. And I think Mike is going to give us an update, this is going to give us an update. Okay, Mike.
Shall I start with?
You have a microphone. Mike, you have 15 minutes.
Thank you, Chair.
Can I ask you a question? Are you also going to talk about the Addenbrooke station, or is it it's not covered? I was told it's not covered. There's no update on the Addenbrooke station.
I'm not talking about that.
Okay, thank you. Just for everybody's information, there are no news on the Addenbrooke station, and there will be no update on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Mike Davis. I work for Cambridgeshire County Council. I'm the team leader of cycling projects. I have given certainly all the members on the top table one of these. It's just a summary of what I'm going to say now. And I'm just going to run through all of the transport projects that are sort of on the go in the south area of the city. So starting with Fulbourn Road, this is a city deal funded scheme. Detailed design is being finalised at the moment and work is planned to start in September. The scheme consists of raised hybrid cycle lanes on both sides from the Robin Hood to Arm and wide shared use paths from Arm to Yarrow Road. Colleagues of mine met with councillors Ashton and Dryden last week to discuss further, and within this document I've given you a contact name if you want to contact anyone for sort of further details. Next one is Queen Edith's Way Fendon Road Roundabout. This is a Section 106 funded scheme. It has gone through a couple of rounds of public consultation already, and it went to the County Council Economy and Environment Committee on the 10th of November last year, and it was resolved to approve the implementation of a Dutch-style roundabout at the Queen Edith's Way Mowbray Road roundabout, and also to have further public engagement with residents and stakeholders on improvements for walking and cycling in Queen Edith's Way. So, in other words, the main sort of section of Queen Edith's Way is still up for discussion. We're planning to do some workshops later in the year, but detailed design is now going ahead for the roundabout. That is an approved scheme. Once we have kind of got an approved design for Queen Edith's Way itself, a final decision will be made by the County Council Economy and Environment Committee as to what that design would be. Turning now into Trumpington, Trumpington Road, there's works on the ground at the moment outside the Botanic Gardens. This is a Department for Transport Cycle City Ambition funded scheme. Works are progressing well. We have a local stakeholder group in place that's met regularly throughout the scheme. Upcoming tasks are relocating lamp columns, completion of a new floating bus stop, surfacing works and the installation of a new raised cycle lane. Turning now to the Robin Hood Junction. This is a Section 106 funded project. It's being managed by the County Council Traffic Signals team. There's been a lot of discussion and design deliberations around the Cherry Hinton High Street arm of that junction, whether it will be a 2-lane exit or a 1-lane exit, whether there's enough space for cycle lanes, and ideally pedestrian facilities as well, and obviously trying to have a look at how all of these things impact on bus journey times as well. Construction work is likely to follow the Forbourne Road scheme now. And now turning to two-way cycling in one-way streets. There's been a couple of rounds of this type of project already in the city. There's probably about 20 streets that are already subject to this sort of no entry except cycles arrangement. The latest batch of schemes, of which some are in Trumpington, went to the Cambridge Area Joint Committee on the 24th of January. And it was resolved to take some of these forward to advertising traffic regulation orders. So these were Coronation Street, west of the junction with Hampton Street, Norwich Street, Union Road and Brookside, but it was decided not to progress any changes to Hampton Street and St Eligius Street. The next step is to advertise the traffic regulation orders, and any objections will go back to the Cambridge AJC. Hills Road, Addenbrooks, City Deal funded scheme. Work commenced on the 4th in January. 4-way lights currently in place. I responded to Councillor Pippas following the last South Area Committee. My letter acknowledges that the County Council should have told Cherry Hinton and Trumpington councillors about the road closure in advance. And it also acknowledges that we did tell Queen Edith's councillors 6 days before the South Area Committee. We're currently finalising the proposal for the next stage of the traffic management. The objective is to develop a solution that minimises impacts on traffic. The duration will be less than 5 months, and it's likely to come into force in early June. Engagement has been taking place with bus operators, the ambulance service and other stakeholders. This has included a stakeholder group which met recently and will be meeting regularly throughout the works. We will contact all South Area Committee councillors shortly once we have these plans finalised. Cherry Hinton Road, we have some Section 106 funding for Cherry Hinton Road, seeking to improve the length from Hills Road to Pern Road. We also do have some funding for the roundabout, so we will be looking at Mr Carpen's proposal there. We've done some initial surveys of traffic, looking at parking restrictions that are also in place. We're planning some stakeholder workshops and then a public consultation probably in September. And then finally, turning to a City Deal project called Greenways, though this could possibly be funded through Section 106 as well. These are 12 new or improved direct attractive routes linking South Cambs to the city. 4 of these routes do run through the south area. Funding has been allocated initially to develop the schemes, and we're planning to do what we call planning for real events to develop the schemes. Currently prioritising which routes to take forward first, and there is a plan of the Greenways, so there are spare copies of this near the door. Thank you, Chair.
Anyone has any questions?
Thank you, Chair. On the Hills Road Addenbrooks scheme, there have been reliability problems with the lights. Caused a few problems. I've been through there twice, both on the weekend when they've been out, and I know other people have problems as well. Do you know what the cause is and if it's now being finally resolved?
We think actually it's something to do with Adam Brooks, which is knocking out because they're sort of radio controlled, they've got sort of radio waves. It does seem to be knocking them out quite regularly in the evenings. But we are looking at a sort of hardwired solution to get around the problem. But no, thanks for mentioning that. I think it's tended to be a sort of an evening issue. Yeah.
Councillor Drayton's next, please.
My comments on the Robin Hood Junction. Last year we had a site visit with, I think it must have been about 10 of us from councillors and officers. And I actually thought that we had an agreement on that junction already.
Well, talking to colleagues, I think the sort of agreement you've got is for a sort of single lane exit with a cycle lane, pedestrian crossing. I think the concern is the impact that'll have on bus journey times. And again, it's a difficult one because you're trying to squeeze an awful lot of space, a lot of things out of the space you've got there. I think the signals team have been talking to city open spaces to see whether a little strip of land could be obtained on that corner, but I gather that's sort of not a very preferred option.
Well, we did have a long discussion over that, and the reason was that's on the other green where we've got trees already been planted, and we didn't want to see a road built on the side of the green, where we thought that that could be dealt with without actually losing valuable green space. Which was the conclusion I thought we came to at the time.
This is the one scheme that's not been delivered by my team, so I'm sort of getting the information second hand. But as I say, I've got an email address on there of Richard Ling, and I'm sure you've met him already, so you might want to touch base with him.
Thank you so much. Councillor Avery, please, and then Councillor Moore.
Yeah.